Okay, here we go. And I lost I had all the windows open before I shut down. There it is.
Yeah,
Here
they're
comes
all
everybody.
popping in.
There you
Yep.
go. Hello, folks. All right. Get my screens already lined up. Welcome to our webinar. It's 2024. How crazy is that? Like,
So wild that we're here.
I know it is very wild that we're here. All right. We got a lot to cover today. Oh, people are waving at us. Hi.
Hi, Kimberly.
Just as a reminder, this is using Zoom webinar, a little different than Zoom meetings. So there's not really that chat feature the same. It's Q&A. So you can pop questions into the Q&A area. We'll be monitoring it for everyone and responding as they come in. Fantastic. All right. Let's I just think that we have so much, so let's just get started. All right, I'm going to start us off today. This is our team for the webinar today. Co-presenting here is myself, Allison James, and Jordan. And we've got Christina, Chrissy, and Brian all helping to moderate. Oh, look at you taking pictures. And Christy, I saw you do that. Christy Hagee has joined us from United Way of Davidson County. We expect that in your social media. Tag one each when you post that, Christy. Thank you so much. We have a special guest. We're going to do this with every webinar, and super excited for Christy to share her experiences with online applications, because we were just talking. She said, like, since 2017, she's been doing these through the website. So she's got a lot of history for all of us. That's very cool. All right, here's our agenda today. We have a new thing we're starting this year. Did you know? We're going to try and throw some nuggets at you at every webinar, because one thing we hear from folks is, I always pick up something new. So we got a couple of did you knows. We'll talk to Christy here in a second. And then Jordan's going to take us through a refresher on these complex applications, user pages, blocks, the apply page, permissions, all of that stuff. Then I'll do that second part and going through the continuing part of the application process, like scoring applications, reportings, pulling reports, PDFs, all of that good stuff. And then we're just going to throw out about the theme change, because we've been talking to so many of you who are excited about changing up your theme. So we'll be continuing that conversation just a little bit at the end. All right, let's do a poll question. I'm calling this Understanding Our Audience. This is kind of a repeat webinar. In January and February of last year, we did a webinar about part one on the application process and part two on the application process. And this year, we're kind of combining both of them a bit together. And we want to know where you lie in what you're doing in the application. So you got to scroll up and down. It's a big little poll here. So this is when I see who's paying attention. You have a poll on your screen. Start clicking. You can click all of them potentially. Some of you might be here just kind of wanting to know a little bit more about the application process. Some of you are like, I'm using this, I want more nuggets. And some of you are thinking about getting started. So there is a poll question up. Please look at your screen. Please start clicking away and letting us know your thoughts on that. I see everyone's kind of working through it right now. This just helps us know what our audience needs are as we go through this process. All right, a couple more seconds here. I'm about to close the poll. Still going though. All right, I will end it. Oh, well, maybe not. I'm still clicking. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the numbers keep going up, so I'm waiting for it to kind of stop. Okay, here we go. Let's end the poll and share the results. So great, 64% of you on this call are actively using some kind of application process on your website. That's cool. Less on some of the others, and some of you are wanting to use it, and there's quite a few of you who are just wanting to see what else is available and learn about. So thanks for sharing that. We have a different poll question later on in the meeting, so we'll get back to you on that. I see questions or hands raising. If you have questions on anything, please use the Q&A box that comes with the Zoom webinar. So take a look for that one. All right, here's my did you knows for this month. Did you know that those of you, and I saw 64 of you have already been actively using this application process. Did you know that if it's like year 2 or year 3 or year 4 of the application, that you can set that application to auto-populate with whatever fields from the form you want them to just have pre-populated when they come back to fill it out for year 2 or year 3 or year 4. So you have to use the exact same form that you used the prior year, but it can actually auto-populate with their data. What's great about this is like address and staff member names and some program description and some of that. Your any organization you're working with is going to love you for having made that process easier for them. So that's one of my did you knows. Did you know you could schedule forms? This one I bet a lot of you knew, but there is always the option to schedule forms. If you have a hard deadline, you can set that date and time and you're not having to be up at midnight to turn a form off. You can schedule forms. Did you know that each form can have a PDF version of it auto-generated? And that PDF version can have a customized name that could be ABC agency's application. Like you can put their name, which is a token of what their name is, into the application name so that all your applications aren't submission, submission, submission. So the PDF has a very distinct name. So that's a did you know. And some of the stuff we'll cover and some of it might just be come back to your account manager and get some help on it. And then the last thing, and I think a lot of you know this system does math. Computed twigs can not only like calculate out if you have a demographics for an area and they put numbers in, it can total it for you. If you're working that into a form, you can have math calculations. You can also calculate percentages. Some of our organizations will calculate what's the admin percent for fundraising and that sort of stuff. So that's my did you knows. Hopefully that was interesting and someone picked up something along the way with that. All right. Okay. Christy, you're up. We're going to talk about United Way of Davidson County, and love to kind of just this bullet point list is some of the things she does actively on our website. But I'm going to let you tell your story, and if you want me to pull up any screens, just let me know because I do have those available.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, and hello everyone. I hope that 2024 is off to a great start for each of you. We are doing great here in Lexington, North Carolina, and we're a very small United Way, so hopefully this will be helpful to you all because I know one of our biggest challenges is capacity. We have 3 staff members here at the United Way of Davidson County, including myself. I have worked here for over 21 years. In various different roles. In the end of 2020, I stepped into the president's role. So the advantage of all of that is that I have done everything that I've asked any of my staff members to do, including running our website. Allison has been super instrumental in getting us up to speed. I think, partnered with One Each back in 2016 or 17 to just initially do our website. I think in 17 or 18, we really started using the online agency application. So we just continue to increasingly use the technology that is available. I know myself, being that I'm 46, I'm proud of my age, but technology is intimidating for our age group. And so a lot of times we kind of steered away from that, thinking that paper was easier and it would be too complicated for a small staff. But we have found that to be the opposite. And so utilizing all of the capabilities of this platform has really streamlined things for us. We are way more efficient. And so I'll just kind of walk you through the steps of our fund distribution process. We have 25 partner agencies at this time, and we start our fund distribution process with a meeting in July. And that is mandatory for anyone who is interested in our funding. We start the first step with a letter of intent, and this was implemented just a few years ago because what we were finding is folks were walking through our entire fund distribution process that essentially starts in August and doesn't end until February, and only to be told that they did not have the proper things in place to meet the requirements that we have of being a funded partner. So we felt like we were wasting their time and our time. So the first step, I don't know if you can show them our letter of intent.
Sure.
It captures some very basic information, just to make sure they're adhering to that they have a 990, that they're a 501c3. I love the detailed part at the top. It gives some information about due dates, all of those kind of things.
And just Christy, you probably don't know this, but we have a lot of these forms available for cloning for free for our customers, and usually I pull versions from customers. Our letter of intent version is yours, so yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, or it's a morph thereof. But
yeah, very basic information.
Yeah, so, and we do have a lot of our customers who do the letter of intent and the agency application. Some just do one, some do both, but yeah, it's a good one. So your process is earlier than most.
Correct. It is a different timeline than some. I know some don't really start until Christmas or after the new year. So we are unique in that way. But overall, I think our process is similar. After the LOIs are submitted, they are reviewed. We actually have agency advocates assigned to each of our panels. This past year, we had 11 panels. Each panel is assigned 2 to 3 nonprofits that they review. So here's an example of our fund distribution panel number 1. They evaluated Hospice of Davidson County, the Life Center, and the ARC of Davidson County. So I'll just back up and saying with our letter of intent, if you are approved, then our agency advocates reach out to those folks and say that they are eligible to complete the full application. I don't know if you want to click on the full application.
No, it's fine. But yeah, and just to do the uniqueness of her process, she has 11 panels. You have 11 review panels, which most of you guys do have panels, sometimes like an education panel or by category or by whatever, but she has 11 panels. And I like this, that she has a form for the panel to get panel members, to people to sign up if they want to be a part of the allocations process.
We still do the paper, volunteer applications for those who prefer that method, but we also thought it would be less intimidating for folks to sign up if they had a way to access it from our website, for us to be able to send it out through our board members. They can email it to friends and neighbors, and we've been able to secure a lot of new volunteers in the community who want to give back. They just don't know how. And so it was really great to see those new names and new faces this year as part of the process. So really just a basic form, just capturing some of their information, and that comes straight to my inbox. You can set that up where it sends you an email every time you get a new volunteer, which I love. Same thing with our applications. So when they come in, we're able to save them and upload them to those different panel pages. That's the other thing I will say I love with our panel volunteers and our board members. We are able to assign them a username and a password. And I send that list to Allison, and she is able to make it to where when they sign in, they only go to the page they need to go to. Everything is on this page right here that you see. All the applications, the scoring rubrics that they eventually do toward the end of the process. There's an application scoring rubric and a site visit where they go out and actually see them in person. This was a game changer for us this past cycle. I had mentioned to the One Each team that prior to this, we did the paper scoring rubrics. The board members and volunteers turned those all into our staff, and then we had to enter all that information into an Excel spreadsheet, which was extremely time consuming. I spent days, if not a week, doing that. It was terrible. This year was so easy, easily populated into an Excel spreadsheet. I made it pretty and, adjusted the headings and all that kind of stuff, but it made it a whole lot easier this year. And our volunteers, it was very well received with them as well. It made it a lot easier for them to complete.
I think this was big this year for you, was getting the 2 online rating forms. So they did 2 online rating forms, again, making yours unique. You've got a lot of going on here, Christy. That's why I brought you in. Thank you for agreeing to do this, because your example is so well-rounded of everything. But the application scoring, and then the rating scoring for the visit scoring. And then you just pulled that Excel and manipulated the data, right? Into
Absolutely.
something pretty for everyone.
Super easy. Love, and again, we are unique. I think most people probably have just one scoring rubric. We were intentional about separating those into two scoring rubrics the past 2 years. We feel like it gives folks, instead of them focusing on trying to fill out the application and the site visit at the site visit, they're not present. They're not really taking that in and really being engaged in conversation. So they fill out that application scoring rubric prior to even coming to the site visit. So it's two separate things. Happy to share, all that information in an email if you want to push that out to folks later, just as an example. But you just start somewhere and you just continue to build. However, I'll just say the team at One Each has been phenomenal to work with. If you have an idea, they can make it happen. The only thing I will say is just reach out early. That's always, yeah, if you can. I know there's emergencies, but I try to do these applications in our, which we don't have a slow time of the year anymore, but I try to do those, in February, March. Go ahead and get those set up, especially if you're not doing major changes to your application. If you're just tweaking a question here or there, go ahead and get that in place before your heavy campaign season gets here. And, if you give the team enough time, they can make it happen. So.
Yes. All right. Well, Christy has learned so much over the past few years. I mean, I think at first you were intimidated by some of it, but you do most of it, and you just need help here and there. Here's the thing for everyone. I've seen some comments coming. Christy will she's on as a panelist, so she can answer questions in the question and answer. If you want to specifically ask any questions that would be more geared towards her, she's going to watch that panel bar now for us, so that or the question and answer bar panel. See, you got that in my head. The question and answer for us, so that she can answer your questions you might have about her process. Everyone's process is unique. That's what makes our job so fun. You guys don't all do this the same, which is great. But that's good news, because we can do it however works for you. And whether it's an agency application, or it's a scholarship form, or it's an employment application, there's a lot of scoring and a lot of rating that can go into all of these forms. All right, Christy, I'm going to wrap us up with your part. Any closing statements before we hand this off to Jordan?
Just thank you for this opportunity, and I'm happy to help for anybody that's looking to get started. And thank you for reaching out, Allison.
All right, thank you. Jordan, you're up next, right?
Awesome. Yep. Okay, I will go ahead and get my screen pulled over. All right. So I wanted to jump in just quickly on the refresh part. This month's webinar topic was a complex applications refresher. So we did cover in greater detail setting up complex applications on your site, how to do all the reporting and the scoring rubrics that Christy was talking about. We have all of that detailed out already in 2 different webinars from last year. They can both be found on our support site. And if you are on the webinars page, they are close to the top. They're the 5th and 6th one from the top if you need extra help looking for those. But it's a part 1 and part 2 of those applications. If you have not already seen them, we really encourage you to go back and watch them, because it will help detail out how to get started. And then what we're covering today will just help kind of add to that. But we'll do a little refresher. Let me stop sharing here. So again, on our support site, under websites, and then webinars down at the bottom, those here are those 2 forms if you're looking for them. But I wanted to jump in to a refresher part. We created a document that we're going to send out in the video recording of this webinar. You'll also get this document as well. It's just a refresher on the complex applications. Last year, we talked about when to use a complex web form and what types of users need those forms. So we detailed out, if you just need anonymous users, if you need authenticated users, or more secured groups that are filling out specific forms. We walked through setting up kind of the 3 pieces that you need to a complex application. You need kind of a landing page or a login page for your users. We call it the apply page, where it has the instructions for a user to create a new account or log into their account so they can fill out that web form. So again, we've got all the details here. You also need a user block set up so that once they log in, they are prompted with the click here to access the application or whatever message you'd like for them to see. So it's creating that block and placing it in the correct area, which can be tricky. Again, we detail that out in the previous webinars, but we've got the steps laid out here as well. And then lastly, the application itself, setting up that web form. There's some permissions that need to be checked within the access permissions. You can also set up some email notifications too, so that when users submit that web form, you're getting some emails. So we'll cover that now, and we'll send this document out to everybody so you can kind of review it along with those webinars. So let's jump into the apply page. This is where users would land when they're going to log in and start filling out your form, or if they're creating a new account. This set of instructions, all of your account managers have this exact verbiage. If you don't want to recreate the wheel here, feel free to reach out to your account manager. They can send this to you so you can pop it right on that page. But this page allows users to log in, create an account, reset their password, and log out as well. If you have this page set up, then you'll also need to set up the user page block. And one question we hear a lot is, once you have the block set up, how do you go back and even see what it looks like for the user? How do you go back and edit what's in that block? And a little shortcut to do that is just to add, once you're already logged in, user/user to the end of your URL, just like you would to log in. And you'll see that block pop up right here, because the setup process allows us to place it directly on this page. From here, you can click the pencil icon and go right in to edit the content in there. If you need to change that link, you can always click on that hyperlink and change where that link is taking someone. You can add additional notes in here if you need, and you can save your changes right from here.
Hey, Jordan.
Sure.
Just a comment on that. So sometimes in this process through the year, if you have your agencies logging into, or your applicants logging in to do an application, and then you have them logging in later to do like a report, like a quarterly report, we often see that you are needing to get to this space to change the words out to where you're redirecting them as they phase through your process. So this is a great, I get this call all the time, like, how do I get to that? Because when you log in as an admin, you don't land here. This is where they land. So how do you get to this page? /user brings you here, but you might be changing this section throughout the year, depending on your process.
Exactly. So this is the shortcut way to get to this block. If you want to just take a look at how it looks on the page, make sure you like how you have it styled out. But this is a block, so you can always find this in your blocks, and that is under structure, block layout, and your custom block library. So if for whatever reason you want to get to it this way, it also lives within all of your custom blocks, and it's just that user page block. You can click edit, and it'll get you to the same place as that pencil icon will.
Warning, warning, blocks are scary. Don't go there if you don't have to.
They can be very useful, but yes, our general rule of thumb, I'll put the disclaimer out there for everybody, is that if you did not create the block, do not delete it, because it may be something important. We can always fix it, but if you didn't create it, please leave it in place.
Usually when you see a chunk of someone's site go missing, it's because they accidentally deleted an entire block. So be careful. It happens.
All right, I'm going to switch over to the application now. I'm going to point out a couple of the did you know areas that we talked about so that you can see where those new ones are. But again, refreshing, there are some places within the complex application, along with the apply page and the user page block. There's some settings on the web form too that we need to put in place. And those are all under the settings tab here. And first, we're going to go to the Access tab. And this is where we want to make sure that we've got authenticated user only clicked on Create Submissions, on, Update Own Submission, and Delete Own Submission. we want to make sure those permissions are set here.
I will say that sometimes you might not want them to be able to update a submission once it's been submitted. So that's a admin call on your side, because you know, you might be reviewing it and then they go and update it and say, well, wait, I changed that. So that's up to you whether or not you allow them to come back in and update something that's already submitted. Your call, but it is an option.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ones. Maybe if you don't want them to update their own, you just want them to be able to view their own instead. That's an option as well. So lots of little check boxes in here. The other areas that we want to review are on the submissions. And again, this is all under the general web form settings. There are down here submission draft settings. With our complex forms, because we're using authenticated users, meaning they have to log into the site in order to access the form, they have the ability to save a draft of this form and come back to work on it later. So they can click a save draft button, log out of the site, and then once they've got a little more information or they're ready to start working on that form again, they can log in and go back to the draft that they were working on. A big tip here, make sure you do not have allow users to save multiple drafts checked. That can just make it very confusing for the user to come back in and try to pick which one were they last working on. Just have one working draft going at a time for the users. And then underneath that, the submission autofill settings, this was part of the Did You Know today. If you check the box, autofill with previous submission data, when the user logs back in the following year, you can pre-populate specific forms or specific elements on there for the user. So they're not having to fill out their address information, specific program details. You can even have a great little welcome back message for the user. And then in the autofill elements, this is where you can go in and select all the ones you'd like to be pre-filled for them already. They'll always be able to type over it and change the information that's there. But if year over year, this information stays the same, you can have that already pre-populated for them, which does save a lot of time.
They will love you.
Yeah. By default, this will have all the boxes checked when you come in here and check this box. I would say uncheck them all so they're all undone, and then come in and just check the ones you need to be specifically pre-populated. But very handy tool, saves people some time. All right, oh, looks like we got, is there a question?
Yes, if we did not choose autofill the first time, will it work if you go back and check it? So it will, so the application process is done, it's closed, and you're getting ready to launch it for the next year, you could check it then. So you can check it. It doesn't have to have been checked before the first time they filled out the application. It has to be checked before the second time they fill out the application. So yes, you can go activate that midstream. I'm not so sure. You might want to test that first, but
Yep. There just has to be some data there for them to pull from.
And any form that you create. So the question, there's a question here about making the authenticated users. The authenticated user, the whole point of an authenticated user is so they can save draft and so that they can come back and see it year after year. So if your form's simple enough and you really just need it to be what we would call an anonymous user, just they come and they fill it, you know, contact us, they fill it out, they submit. They don't need to log in to do that, right? That's a decision you're going to make based on the complexity of the form. But a form can be converted to authenticated at any time, yes.
Yep. Awesome. All right, going to point out a few other items within the settings here. There are a ton of different settings that you can play around with within web forms. These are the ones that we find most helpful. So there's that auto-populate. Allison also talked about scheduling forms out. Within the form settings, you have the ability to schedule your form status and have it open and close on a specific date and time. So if you are I think as Allison mentioned, letting applicants have until midnight or 11:59 p.m. on a specific day to get their form in. You can have the form shut off right at midnight the next day, and you don't have to do anything or remember to wake up and log in and turn that form off. You can have the site do it for you. So you do have that scheduled option here. You'll put an open and a close date. And then if you would like, you can put an open message. So this would be if someone came to use the form before it was open, you can have a message in here kind of letting users know the form isn't open to come back on this date, as well as, hey, this form has closed already. Please contact so-and-so if they need. Okay, and then the last did you know that I'm going to point out is the PDF customization. And that is going to be on the PDF element itself. So when you are building that form, and you're adding the PDF of the completed form element within this settings, you'll have the option to give it a unique file name. And by using tokens, you can customize what that name looks like. So you'll see right here, we've got kind of these brackets here, and it says web form submission values agency S name. It looks very codey. Don't let that panic you. What this is your element name right here. So all we're doing is telling the form, hey, take this element, whatever value they put in here, which would be the agency name, and then put the word application.pdf. And that way it customizes each individual PDF name. It makes it easier for you to sort through all the PDF documents that you're going to receive, but it's very easy to customize on your own. If you need help pulling this token, reach out to your account manager and they can help get this token correct for you.
And the cool thing about that is, let's just say your application process is done and you hadn't set it up this way. If we go back and change this, boom, all those PDF names will change for you instantaneously. Because we've done that after the fact before. They're like, they all say just PDF. How do I know which one's which? Let's go add a name.
Perfect. And then along with customizing things, because I think it's very neat to, once you have the form process set up, find little ways to improve it or to make it more personal for those users that are coming back year over year. You also can customize the email submissions that go out. So back under the settings, we do have an email and handler settings options up here. We recommend sending out 3 different emails, one with just the attachment only. This would go to your internal staff that would just have that PDF of the full form results. One that goes to your contact that's filling out the form, so they have a copy of the form they submitted, and then another one to the staff that kind of has the full form here. But remember, when you're playing around in these email handlers, I'm just going to open one up. You can be very intentional about the parts that you're customizing. So internally, this title field, it is only going to show up on the side here. So you can name these something very specific for your internal team to know which ones you're trying to edit or trying to work on. You also have the option to sending to custom email addresses, which is 90% of the time what you're going to use when you're wanting to send to internal staff members, or maybe someone else, that is a custom email address. The other one that is popular is going to be your site mail. Every website has a designated site email. It's usually something like admin@ or info@, and it's kind of a general catch-all. You can always refer to that one. And then you can also email specific fields from your form. So we do see primary contact email address. The field is on the form. So when users are filling it out, it will email that email address, the copy of their submission here. So there's some options to play around in. Underneath where the message is, you can do kind of the default message that says the web form was submission from, and then the web form name. You can also do a custom subject up here if you want to have something a little more specific. And you can have a custom body. Ours right now just says, hey, a copy of your application has been attached, but you can detail this out. You can put a little thank you note in here if you need, and you can put contact information if you need them to be able to reach out to someone if they have questions. This is all little areas that you can tweak to customize. And then here is the big one. This is the big disclaimer we always put. I would not send them every single checkbox on this form. I would uncheck all of these and only send them that PDF document so they get just a nice document that details everything out. The other item I would make sure is unchecked is if they are submitting any documents to you on the form, if they're having to upload quite a few documents, I would not resend them those documents. I would just send the one PDF just to make sure there aren't any crosshairs and the site's not trying to send out, a ton of documents to one person.
Which often fails if it's got a huge bunch of huge attachments when they got the 990 and the audit and the 501c3 and the this and the budget and you don't want all those attached. So the one document is good. That's great.
Yeah, makes it simple.
And then do you have that attachment box checked for that? Just one more quick thing on there where you were.
Oh, let's take a peek.
Yeah. In order for that PDF to send, it's going to be important to open this last box down here and make sure that's checked. Also, just as a side note, when they do get that PDF in the email and they click and open the PDF, it'll open for them. What won't open necessarily is the hyperlink to the 990 because that is tied to the website as a private file. Any of those attached files will require a login in order to be able to view that. So the agencies would have to log back in to view those, and your allocations team members or your review team members have to be logged in to view them as well because they are private files in your site. Sorry, Jordan.
No, thank you for adding that in. All right, that was just my little kind of refresher on this process with a few new tips and tricks thrown in. I'm going to come back over here to the slide deck. Just as a reminder, we do have a ton of these stock applications. We can clone them to your site at no cost. Submit a support ticket and ask our team if you would like any of these forms. Just let them know which ones and they can get those moved over to your site. From there, I would always recommend booking a meeting with your account manager. They can help you take those cloned forms over and help personalize them more to your process and your organization. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to you, Allison.
All right, a little ping pong today. Usually we try and stick with one screen or one screen each. All right, I'm coming back here with this webinar again. So we were talking about like the applications and when the applications get done, what do we do with them? The PDFs are really helpful in any of these application processes because then you can just take that PDF and either if you have the attachments and you download them, you send them that way. But the process that we're seeing most of our customers preferring to do is that they're creating some kind of panel page like Christy had. Whether you have your whole allocations team go to one page or you have a separate page per panel or however works best in your process, that PDF and pulling that PDF from the reports is going to be key in order to you being able to create the page for them to go to, right? So we already talked about the distinct names. How do I pull that report though? Let's go ahead and do that. We also talked about, oh, okay, let's go back. Sorry, I should just leave my screen up. So for the applications themselves, and here's an example application on the site. Once an application is filled out, these are the stock ones that we have available for you. Once they're filled out, you can come back and you can pull a report. So you would just log in with your admin login and go to that application and pull the report. Sorry, I should have been logged back in. I meant to do that while you were talking, Jordan. I was just so absorbed in what you were talking about. Okay. So just as a reminder, where are your web forms at? Everyone know the answer to this question? You got to click manage, go under structure, click web forms. That gets you back to the list of web forms. Cool thing in our system when you come back in here to all your web forms, I think that gets you there. There we go. Is that all you have to do is click the results number to get to the results page. That's how I like to do it. I find that to be a little handy. Also gives you kind of an eyeball of how many results do I have out there. So when I click on that number, it brings me to my results page. If anything's in draft, you'll see the draft. this results page is full of cool information for you. One, if you're doing this year after year, you're going to have agencies, you're going to have organizations contact you and go, I don't know what my username is. Sometimes you can help them out a little bit by looking at their past submission and seeing what their username is. Our system lets our users create whatever username they want. And let me tell you, they do. They can put spaces, they can use an email. That's what I think makes the most sense as a user, is to use an email, but folks do all sorts of things and then they forget. So they can come back and reset their password and get back to it. But you're the one who gets that call, right? And you're trying to help them troubleshoot, like, how do I log back in again? So just a tip for you, you usually can figure out people's usernames by looking over here. When you go to the very end of the application, you will see the name of the application, right? And then that's just the agency name and then the word application after it. Once you have that, all you have to do is copy the link of the application and then go to your allocations team page and add the link there. So it's a pretty easy process, and I'm not going to go into all the details on it, but if you need help with that, let us know. But once you have that application link, you just hyperlink it like you normally would hyperlink, and they're going to be able to sit there online and review an application. That makes it really handy and really easy. They do have to be logged in to click any of the hyperlinks that would be within that application process. So that's how that works. Pulling the reports. So let's talk about that report though. So we got in here to the agency application. We have these all here, and I just want to download it. I want to have a backup. I want to save it. I maybe want to keep track on some of the numbers they might have submitted for their demographics, etc. So to pull a report on any web form, to pull a report when you're in the results tab, you can click the word download up here under results. When you come to download, one of the things that you may or may not realize is sometimes this is open, sometimes it's not. It's not open. You can pick which field to download into a report. There's a lot of system fields, so you might uncheck some of those and only pick certain fields. If you're ever needing a report that's really specific, you just want a report of agency and how much they're asking for and program name and impact area or something, you could be very specific in pulling that. When you come to the bottom, it's automatically going to download it as a CSV file. But what if you've done this year after year after year? Then you don't want the previous years. So you are going to do limited to created date. And you're going to pick the date range of when those applications would be in there. And then you can even save your settings, or you can just do download. So you can pick whether it's both completed and draft, or it's just completed, or it's just draft. This gives you some options in pulling the reports. What I suggest is after each year that you pull a full report of it and save it somewhere on your computer, because the next year, if you're letting them use the same form, maybe you change a title of something or something's a little different. You want to make sure you have good backups on this, okay? Questions on that? No. And yep. All right, secured groups. So your website does come with 3 secured areas. Yes, Christy has 11, which it's possible to have more. But by default, you will have had 3 secured areas given to you for your organization. So those secured areas are usually where you'll create that allocations panel type of page. So let's take a look at our secured area for volunteer on my demo site. And you can do several things within how you decide to lay this out. I can tell you that everyone does it a little bit differently, but what we can do, which Christy referred to, which is great, is when you give us the allocations list or the review team, we will set them to automatically, upon logging in, they land here. They're not going to land on that user page. We're going to redirect them to whatever specific page they need to land on. So they're not lost trying to figure out where to go. So their login is going to take them right to where you want them to go. So in this case, it goes to this page, and here's a link to application 1, and here's a link to application 2, and those will open in a separate tab. They can review them. The rating form can be right on the page. They can say which program they're rating, what their score system is. And everyone's got a different score system, but we do have a stock one that a lot of our organizations use. But if you have a certain rating form, Christie's is very specific. It can be built however you want. It can have math, it can total, it can calculate. So it's pretty cool. All right.
And I'm just going to throw out there real quick, Allison, the 3 secure areas too. If you do not see those on your site, don't panic. You get up to 3. You just may not have set them up yet. So if you don't see secure areas already set up on your site, just contact your account manager or our support team and ask if they can get one spun up for you and named how you'd like.
Yes, and you can purchase additional ones if you need more. So it is possible. Here we go. So once you do that, a step that needs to happen is that you would need to provide back the first name, last name, and email address of everyone in that secured panel. This is the same if it's like your board secured page or it's your review team secured page or whatever. So those users have got to be set up uniquely. You can't set them up. They can't set themselves up. Unlike the agency applications or people applying for your programs, they can set up their own username and password, right? They're called and authenticated. These guys are a little bit different. They have a role, and their role is that they can access a certain page, that secured page. So they function a little different than your authenticated applicants do. These guys actually have a higher level of permission than they do. So we do need to set those up for you. You do have to provide us their names and their emails, and then we can build that out for you as well. All right. Any other questions or anything on this is our application refresher. We're gonna start towards our winding down on this, but questions popping in?
I'm not seeing any right now.
Okay. All right. So I would like to just throw this out there because every year this is the time frame, like starting in January until like summer, that a lot of our organizations find is the best time for them to make major changes to their website, whether they're just updating and doing stuff within the site or they're going to go for that new theme. I know we have a lot of United Ways on this call today specifically because of the topic. United Way's got a brand refresh going on. We're on it, folks. We're very aware. So there's some new design work. We already have a line that's formed of our customers who want to make that change this year. That line is going to get long fast. This is my warning to you. If you're interested in doing this, you really don't want to wait. I do have a poll question on this that I want to throw out and see what you guys are thinking. Where did my poll questions go? Here we go. I know. Oh, it's because the other one's still up. There we go. What is the new one? See, I had 2. Hang on. Keep talking.
Well, while you're finding that, Juan, I see your question that popped in. Is there a dedicated webinar on blocks? I don't think we have one specifically just on blocks, although I will definitely take that feedback into our schedule. There are a couple that cover different aspects of blocks that we can send you. I think we did one on some page components that may have some blocks in there. I think the best advice that I will give you, though, is just book some time with your account manager, get all your block questions ready with Allison, and she can help walk you through. They're very cool, but they can be just a little bit tricky when you're first getting into them. So having her guidance help you as you get started will be a big help.
All right. And I found my poll questions. I had to shut the one down for the other one to come back up. Okay, there's 2 questions in this poll that's on your screen. This is again where we see who's paying attention. Take a look at your screen right now. Help me out. If you've thought about changing your theme, let us know where you're falling in the scheme of things. Are you like really wanting to do it quickly? Maybe this year, maybe next year, you don't have any idea. And then also just curiosity as far as fiscal years go. That's been a question that comes up, and we're always wondering, who's running what fiscal years. So take a look at your screen right now. If you wouldn't mind, please, please, please take a moment to fill this out. Obviously, if you say you're interested in theme change ASAP, your account manager will be following up with you with some information. We'll follow up with all of you. You're going to be seeing more stuff come out on this as well. But again, warning, that line is going to get long fast. And if you're in hopes of having everything in place by a campaign launch, say in August or September, sooner the better. And I just don't want you to miss out on that opportunity. New designs will be available really, really soon, as well as the ones that are already out there that are spectacular. So just watch for more information. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this poll and share our results. So quite a few of you are looking at it soon. A lot of I have no idea. That's always a safe answer, right? I don't know. And then, you know, there's still a lot of you in January 1 fiscal year begins. So good to know. Just kind of curious. One other. What was the other? Put it in the questions. If you were the one who marked other, when's your fiscal year begin? Because it's always fascinating to find we have a few people who do it at different times. Oh well. There it is, August 1st. All right. Oh, okay. We have an August 1st. There you go. All right. Thanks for answering our poll question. We're going to start wrapping this one up today. Just as a reminder, our webinars are always on our support site. We've been really consistently able to get them loaded on the support site within about 24 hours of this webinar, because we've got to render out and we've got to post it and all that stuff. You will get a link to it in the email that goes out as a follow-up to this webinar. We mentioned those forms. If you were wanting any of those forms, make sure you're submitting a support ticket to the forms to be cloned to your site. If you need help with this process, there is a lot of details in these complex applications. Please have us review them with you, because there's just so many details and it really helps to have another set of eyes. So book a meeting with your account manager. Next month, we're talking about pictures. I got a guest coming in next month who says they're really good at Canva. So we're going to do even some Canva work and some picture work and talk pictures and pictures and pictures. Still looking for a guest for March 21st, maybe someone who feels like they're really on it with their homepage and scheduling and keeping it fresh and doing stuff. So if there's anyone who wants to self-identify, special shout out to Christy today. Woot, woot. Christy, you were awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you want to say something? She's like, no, I'm muted.
Thanks again. The only thing I will say, something that has bit me a few times, is character limits. When you're creating these web forms, pay attention to how many characters can go in an answer, because that might determine what format you use, whether it's yes. So just ask your account manager about that. It's something that Allison worked with me on, because my agencies needed more room to answer questions than what I was giving them. So just trying to save you some heartache and a lot of emails from your partner agencies. I don't have enough room to answer. So we did a lot of submitted Word document with it, you know, that first year, but we got it off. But just a point I wanted to make.
Yeah, I think we went through and changed some questions that had been like text fields to text areas to give them more room in the future. And then there is limits. We didn't really talk about that today, but there is the ability to put character or word limits on any of your questions, any of your text area questions on your site. That was a good point. Well, thanks again, Christy. We appreciate you being here today with us and joining in on our webinar. Also going to do a shout out. I know he turned his camera off. Brian is from our sales team. There he is. We've got all these great new designs. We've got Drupal 10 and Layout Builder with new designs coming in as well. So note on that. That's super cool. Referrals, folks. We love you guys that you have been so great about telling others about us. Right now, we're talking to a lot of United Ways who are interested in working with us. And other nonprofits, if you know organizations who aren't 1H customers, who really should be 1H customers, because we have these cool agency applications and pledge cards and all of this neat stuff, and you have an account manager who works with you and gives you the time of day and helps you through things. How great is all that? Please, Brian's our sales lead. If anything comes into us, we always refer out to him. But Brian, if you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yep, exactly. We live off referrals, so nothing spreads faster with nonprofits than obviously recognition. So if you can let other people know, if you have partner organizations that you think could really benefit from something like this, have them reach out to me. And to kind of double down on what Christy said with sooner than later, have them reach out to me now if they're planning on doing a website at the end of the year or couple months before campaign season. Have them reach out to me now. We'll have a conversation well in advance and then get everything prepped instead of trying to slap something together 2 months ahead of time. So
Yes. Planning. It's always good.
Mhm.
All right. That's wrapping us up today. So thank you all very much. I don't see any questions in our question box. Join us for pictures next month, or we'll see you in a future webinar. All right.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you.